All right, here we are. So as you all know, I'm David Mack, Executive Director, Goode Performance Group, and I have Alyssandra with me, one of our team members. Thank you so much, Alyssandra, for doing this. We are going to be walking you all through how to enter hours in your timesheet with our new QuickBooks online payroll system. So the first point we want to make sure that we share is we know understand this is a new system, so we thank you for your patience and thank you for taking the time to put this in. It's going to be a little bit of work and a little bit of new knowledge to share, but we feel confident that once you know how to do it and once you get used to it, it's going to be a great system for you to be able to track the different hours and different types of work that you do. And it's going to be really great and helpful for us as the office management team to be able to also track and supervise all of the hours that we're giving all of our team members across the year, across all of our projects. So thanks for being in it with us. So, it's going to be a little bit of a swirl as we go through. We're going to try and answer as many anticipated questions as we can, but if more questions come up, you still don't get it after watching this, definitely feel free to email me, david@jogoode.org, and we'll be able to answer your questions. All right, so let's jump right into it. First, what Alyssandra has done is signed in already. So we have the view of QuickBooks Online from the vantage point of a staff member ready for you. But we want to let you know that you've been sent invitations via your email address that we have as your point of contact on file for you. Some of you may be brand new to QuickBooks, and some of you may be using QuickBooks for your personal use or for other companies that you work with. If you do use it for multiple accounts, it still should work to give you access to Goode Performance Group's timesheets. So you can just go in and sign in with your regular email address and your password if you already have a QuickBooks account. If there's any problems or there's any errors that come up, hit me up via email. But if it all goes smoothly, you should see the view that we have here on Alyssandra's account at the top upper left-hand side. It should say Goode Performance Group, and then it should say, hi, your name. And then you'll know that you're at the right place, and this is your timesheet to track in your hours for JGPG. All right. Okay, Alyssandra, so are we ready?
Yeah, I'm totally ready.
Okay, cool. So let's show them a couple of the different views. So we have a weekly timesheet here. We have a single activity and go to report. So what weekly timesheet is, we're going to show you first is how to put in your hours, and it will give you a view from the vantage point of a week. And our work weeks go from Sunday to Saturday, and our pay periods are bi-weekly. So 2 weeks, Sunday to Saturday each week. So you'll be able to look at that whole view, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and put in your hours that way. The next thing we'll show you is the single activity, in which you can put in for a single day, a single shift that you work, and distinct activities for the different types of work that you do. And we'll talk you through that. And then finally, go to report, where you'll be able to see a listing of everything that you've entered, all your hours, and all the descriptions of all the different types of work that you do. And we'll show you that last. All right, Alyssandra, so let's go firstly into the weekly timesheet. So here it is. There's the view. Yep, you see that Alyssandra's already done the drop down to make sure we get to the right week. You see here it's preset from January 9th to 15th. So it's always going to be preset for the current week that you're in. But remember that our pay period begins, in this case, the beginning of January. And the beginning of hours for everybody is that January 2nd through 8th week, because January 1st was a holiday. So that's the week you want to make sure you select. And then in the details, you see right to the left-hand side of the details, we have these different numbers. You see 1, 2, and then it goes down to 3 and below. So those numbers represent different line items where you will put the different types of work that you're doing and the different types of pay rates. That will message to us the different types of pay rates to pay you for the different types of work that you're doing. And we'll explain that to you in a moment. So yes, what you see Alyssandra doing here is making sure that we're filling in the line with the correct information. You see it says choose a customer. We can leave that blank. You don't have to worry about selecting that. Services, you can leave that blank. Choose a location, can leave blank. And you don't have to click billable. Also, all of that can be left blank. The information that you do want to put in is choose a class and description. So with choose a class, yes, we want you to click on that drop down and you'll see these different classes. Classes is what QuickBooks name for different projects or different departments of an organization. So first you see at the top administration as a class, and then under it as a subclass, you see equity. And so that you would select for our equity meetings. So any equity meetings that we have, you're all invited to attend. You'll get a special rate for attending those meetings, which will be reflected in your contract addendum that you're receiving through DocuSign. And so you'll be able to click on that specifically for the time you spend there. And then that will signal to us that you're to be paid in that manner for your attendance at the equity meeting at that rate. Annex, we have general operations, and then you see the subheadings, rentals and training. So for our front of house team and for our technicians, generally you'll be wanting to select rentals, that rental subclass for any of the rental work that shifts that you do. Anything that's Joe Goode Performance Group related produced event would be under productions, and it will be put in that subclass. And if you're confused about which class or which subclass to use on an annex related event, definitely ask your supervisor. They'll make sure that you're putting in the correct class for the correct shifts that you're working. And then scrolling up a little bit, Alyssandra will show people community engagement. So that's for our teaching artists and our dancers, mostly our teaching artists classes, Dance for Parkinson's, Inspired Bodies, Movement for Humans, etc. You'll be selecting those subclasses for those types of work. If you're involved at all in the spring fundraiser, that'll be under development. And then as mentioned, JGPG productions for our dancers and other team members will be under productions. All right, so in this example, let's start first a little bit up towards the annex. So let's do an annex rental subclass, Alyssandra. And let's say that you are a front of house member that's doing a rental for, let's say it's Alonzo Lines Ballet. So yep, Alyssandra will put in the description. You'll want to put in what the project is that you're working and what your role is in the project. And that will then be received by the supervisors. We'll be able to see it on the back end, and we'll make sure that you're paid correctly for that shift. So then you want to put in how long you worked and what day. So yep, let's say it was Monday. Let's say it was a 2-hour shift. So then right in that box, you'll just have to put the number 2, and it will automatically add that up for you. So that's one pay rate. So then you want to go down to line 2 and do a second pay rate. Let's say that you did some travel to and from the annex to do that shift. You'll want to make sure that you get paid for that, and that's getting paid at a separate travel rate, which will be shared in your contract. And so for that one, you would want to put in the same subclass, rentals, and you would want to be put in the description, the same project, but instead of front of house, you would be putting in travel time for that project. There you go. And then let's say it took you an hour round trip, half hour to get there and half hour to get back. So then you would just put in 1, and that will then be your travel pay reflected in your timesheet. But we also have a mileage reimbursement benefit. So you'll want to put that in the description as well. So in the second line, then you'd put in mileage reimbursement. And we also ask you to calculate your mileage reimbursement and put that into the description. And the rate of reimbursement that Joe Goode Performance Group is using is the federal nonprofit rate of 14 cents per mile. So let's say it was 10 miles round trip to get to and from your shift. So then you will put in 10 miles right there, and then you will do times 14, that 14 cents per mile. And then you could just whip out your calculator, because if you're like me, and I think as Alyssandra shared, if you're like us, math is not the #1 top subject. So no shame in whipping out that calculator and calculating it out, but we pre-calculated for you that it's $1.40 that you will get that mileage reimbursement. So you just put that right in the description, and we'll make sure that that's appropriately reflected in your timesheet when we run your payroll for you. And remember that you get that mileage reimbursement regardless of what mode of travel you use, we have decided as an organization to give that reimbursement universally to all of our team members, no matter how you get there. So car or public transportation or other means, as well as your travel time reimbursement. All right, so that's how you would do our travel. So then let's say that you accept a shift, but unfortunately you are sick and you have to call in sick, or you have to take care of a loved one who's sick, a family member or partner, or you have to go to get COVID testing because of a concern of an outbreak during the shift. If any of those things happen, state law provides that you are eligible for paid sick leave, and we are going to start as reflected in your contracts. We have given all of our part-time members 12 hours of paid sick leave beginning at the beginning of this year, January 1st. In addition, you'll accrue additional paid sick leave, 1 hour for every additional 30 hours you work. And that all will be tracked in a QuickBooks Workforce link that you were given, where you can see your pay stub and also your accrued hours there. If you have any questions about that, feel free to email me and I'll make sure we get you that information so you can see your pay stub and accrued hours. But in the meantime, we want to make sure that everyone is being healthy and everyone is given sustainable benefits in accordance with labor law. So we want to make sure that you know that you have that paid sick leave. So yeah, Alyssandra, let's put in an example there where let's say, yeah, you do have a rental shift. And in that rental shift, you put in that rental subclass. And in the description, you would put the project that you were going to do the shift at, but then you would also add a signifier of paid sick leave in the description. You would type that in. And so that will let us know that you're out sick, weren't able to do that shift, and this is your paid sick leave. We'll make sure that we account that correctly for you. And then you'll put in how long it was. So let's say it would have been a 2-hour shift that day, put in 2 hours, that'll be a paid sick leave for you. All right, so then moving right along, looks like the system auto adds rows, so we can do as many rows as we need to, which is great. So in this one, let's say you're attending an equity meeting. And so for that one, you'll wanna click on the subclass equity. And for the description, it's not necessary to put in one, but it's let's put in equity in there just so that you can see it up in your report. So when you do your reporting, all the descriptions come out. So in the description box, you could just retype in equity if you'd like. And then let's say the meeting, it's a 2-hour meeting. You just put in again that 2 hours right in that box for the day that you attended the meeting, and we'll make sure that you're paid correctly for that meeting. And then finally scrolling down one more row to row number 5. So let's say you've been working a whole bunch of shifts right on this day, you've done a bunch of traveling and you go over 8 hours in a day. As you know, we are providing for overtime benefits. So if you go over 8 hours in one day or over 40 hours in a week, or work 7th day of 7 consecutive days in the work week, then you are entitled to overtime. Remember to make sure if you anticipate that you're going into overtime, if you're asked by your supervisor to do a shift that will take you into overtime, that you get permission from your supervisor before going into that overtime, because overtime is something that's not budgeted. So we want to make sure you get the benefit, but at the same time, we want to make sure that we're providing sustainable shifts for our team members and avoid asking our team to do that many hours if we can. So please make sure that you do get that approval, but let's say you go ahead and get that approval and we need you to do that overtime, then yes, in here you would put in what shift brought you into that overtime. So let's say, for example, with this one, let's try a community engagement event. Yeah, Alyssandra, let's see if it was an Inspired Bodies. So you would put in the description, that particular class, that particular shift that you worked, and the role. Let's say that, yeah, let's say it was a teaching artist shift. And then in the amount of time, well, yeah, teaching artist class, and then in the description, you would add overtime. So that would be the description signifier. And then the amount of time, let's say we'll put in 2 hours, so the 2 hours of overtime. So then we'll make sure that we pay you the overtime correctly, and we'll only be able to do that if we see that overtime listed out in the description. So make sure you line that out separately and you list that out in the description that it's overtime, and then we'll do it. It's a little bit of a complicated calculation that the state of California has now put in for overtime. So we'll calculate that for you on the back end, so that's reflected in your paychecks. All right, so I think that's pretty much the different options. Yeah, did we miss anything, Alyssandra, in terms of the different
difference
types?
between prep and putting different lines for prep and
Oh, yes. Thanks so much. So yeah, we also want to show you an example of, let's say you did that teaching artist shift, right? That teaching artist class, the reason Alyssandra put class in there is because that will signify to us that you're going to be paid your class rate. We also know that we have our prep and meetings rates, which is a separate rate for our teaching artists, right? So yeah, here's what Alyssandra's doing is that you'll put in a separate row and you'll put in the same subclass so we know what project you're working on, and then you would put in teaching artist, but then you will put in prep in the description, and so that will then signify to us that you are to be paid at your prep rate. And then let's say it's an hour of prep, right? Then you put in exactly how much prep time you spent there, and we'll make sure that you get paid correctly when we run payroll. All right, so I think, did we get all the types there?
I think we did. And then obviously we know it's not always going to be all in one day. We just did that to show overtime. And then did we want to talk about our little icons here?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have a print feature and we have a download feature. So if you click on that, that'll turn your timesheet into an Excel file. And then we have a settings. Yeah, Alyssandra, you can share with people the settings feature.
Oops, I don't want to do that one. So yeah. And then you can get rid of rows if you never work Saturdays, you can just get rid of them to make them a little bit more cleaner for you and easier to access.
Exactly. And you see the total hours there added up for the top for you. So you can see how many hours you've put in so far into your timesheet. And then of course, when it's the way that you want it, you can press save and new. It's good to press save and new if you're working multiple weeks in the pay period, because remember, you want to always make sure you're on the right week, right? So you do save, it will save it, and then new, so that you can then go into the drop down there and put in make sure you're in the new correct week and put in your hours for that week. Or you can just press save. As soon as you press save or save in new, everything that you put in your timesheets will be received and viewable by us as the office staff management team. The other employees will not have access, just your supervisors will have access, and then they'll be able to go in and review your timesheet and approve your timesheet. So this is why we're asking you to make sure that you have your weekly timesheets done correctly and the way you want it and saved by, in this next case for this pay period, it would be Tuesday, January 18th. Moving forward, it will be every other Monday on a bi-weekly basis. If there's a holiday on a Monday, it will then be the Tuesday by 10 a.m. So that will then give your supervisors enough time to review all of your timesheets. They may email you questions by the end of the day. So we ask, if you get an email from us with a question about your timesheet, please respond to us within 24 hours, because we have a weekly calendar system that gets us all the information in place so that we can do all the right calculations by our payroll deadline, so that we can get everyone paid by the Friday after the pay period. So in this upcoming period, that would be Friday, January 21st. So that's why it's really important for you to get back to us, get those timesheets in and get back to us any questions that we have, to make sure that there's not a delay in your payment for your paycheck. Also, if you are a staff member that doesn't work on a regular weekly basis, let's say you don't have a shift anytime within the pay period, you don't have to submit a pay sheet. It would be nice for you to send a courtesy email to your project lead, your supervisor, letting them know, hey, I didn't work this pay period, so don't worry about timesheets for me. So then people don't have to be wondering if you maybe forgot. It will be clear, we'll take you off the list for that pay period. But yes, no need to do any extra submission. And same here with your timesheet. Once you press save, you're good to go. No need to do any extra submit buttons. As mentioned, we'll be able to see it right on the background. right on the back end. All right, so I think at this point we can show people the single activity setting. So we can X out of this, Alyssandra, and
Oh, we
go. Oh
forgot
yeah,
to
go ahead.
mention, yeah, we just figured this out. This is just a tip. If you need to ever accidentally, if you accidentally input a time in incorrectly, what you'll need to do is or if all of them are incorrect, pressing clear lines will not clear all your hours. It will just, if you put in something else, it'll just actually add hours back. So you actually have to press the trash can right next to it. So, oops, I think it just accidentally redid all of that though. So I'm not going to save. I'm just going to press cancel and hopefully it kept my hours. So
yeah, it did keep it. Yeah, so you're in a different work week there. But yeah, absolutely right. Make sure you're using that trash can instead of the clear lines function if you need to erase those items, as Alyssandra mentioned. All right, thanks, Alyssandra. Okay, great. So let's go into single activity. And so this is a really good feature for those of you who don't work, like say every day of the week or regularly every week. If you just have one-off shifts, you can use this single activity button, and you see here you can put in your time activity by the shift. So this is just the day feature, so it will just show you the day that we're in today. So make sure you want to click on the right date that you want to put those hours in. And once you make sure you have your right date, then you put in all the same information as we showed in our weekly view. You know, leave that customer service location blank, but you make sure you put in your right class or your subclass, put in the description you want. And then for time, yeah, so let's say it's a rentals again, yeah, keep it simple, put in rentals, put in that rental description. And then for the time, you can click that checkbox that Alyssandra clicked where it says enter start and end times, and you can enter in the actual time that you started in the day and then the time that you ended, and it will auto calculate that for you, the length of time. So there you see Alyssandra putting that in from the drop downs there. And then if you remember, if we want to make sure you get your breaks, your 10-minute breaks, you don't have to include, but if you have your 30-minute breaks for your lunch break, your meal break, then make sure that you're putting it in a decimal format. So like 0.5 for 30 minutes, as Alessandra's doing here, and it will auto calculate that for you. And then you see below the description summary. So in this case, it was 3 hours and 30-minute shift, auto calculated for you as well. So then you save it, and we wanted to make sure you do save and new if, let's say, you did travel to and from this shift, or if you did another shift, like you also did an equity meeting. You want to make sure that each of those different distinct shifts or pay rates are separate. You enter them as separate time activities. So that's why you do that save a new feature. And then once you're done, you save it all up, and then you can X out of there as well. And you'll be able to see that reflected. We'll be able to see it reflected on the back end as your project leads and supervisors. And you'll also be able to see that on your end once you go to the reports, which we'll show you in a moment. All right, so then finally, here's go to reports. So click on go to report, and it should give us a little report here. There it is. That shows all of the activity for in this particular report, it's January 1st through 10th, so year to date. And so you'll see there all the different types of hours and different types of shifts that Alyssandra put in to her timesheet is reflected in a nice lined report for you, and then it's totaled up. So that's how you'll be able to see and track everything that you've done in your timesheet. Again, remember your pay stub is separate. That's through QuickBooks Workforce. That will show you how much your pay is, you know, how much is the net pay versus gross pay, how much sick hours have accrued versus used, benefits, etc. That will be on your pay stub. But this is just a way for you to kind of see in a list format everything that you entered in your timesheet. And it looks like we have the gears here too, where you can download it into, I'm assuming, an Excel file. You can print it. Looks like you can even email it, export to PDF, export to Google Sheets. Oh, that's a nice new feature. And then, yeah, we have different columns here for you to see the different displays and the different views, which is nice. So you can feel free to play around with that so you can all have your customized reports of your hours. All right. So, I think that's everything that we wanted to share with everyone. Did we miss anything to your memory, Alyssandra?
Not that I'm aware of. I think that we got all of it. There's this part on here as well. It seems to like run report if you want to do that function as well. But
Absolutely. And then you see, yeah, by this month to date is the time period. If you clicked on that drop down next to this month to date, yeah, you see that you can set up the different time periods through which you can see, you can run a report and you can see the hours that you've been putting in. So that's great to know that that's there. All right. Well, thank you so much again. This is just a little bit of a summary. We're hoping to give you a little bit of a visual guide to help you in this process as you're doing your first payroll. You can watch this as many times as you need to, but if you still have questions, even after watching multiple times, we want to be available to answer your questions so that you have a successful first payroll submitted next week. So again, email me, david@jogoode.org, and just make sure that if you didn't submit your financial information, your direct deposit information, your personal tax information into QuickBooks Workforce yet, we want to make sure you get that done because we cannot run your payroll until that is done. So that's one QuickBooks email that was sent to you, and then your QuickBooks Online Access was the second email that was sent to you. So these are the two-step processes for you to get done. And again, we're here for you if you need help. So thanks again, Alyssandra, for the assistance in the support. Thank you, everyone. Have fun, and we look forward to getting you all paid. Take care.